everyone, it's Mandy. Thanks for joining me for another process video. The layout that I'm creating today is for Cocoa Vanilla, and this week on the blog the design team is sharing lots of gorgeous summer themed projects. So that's what I'm creating today, and I'm using the beautiful Endless Summer collection. This collection is so lovely. There's lots of pretty soft colours, but there's also some beautiful bright pops of colour as well within the collection, which I really love. So as you can see, I've done a little bit of prep before I started filming, and what I've done is I've fussy cut some floral clusters from one of the pattern papers within the collection, and I've also cut my title using a cut file that's available as a free download from the Cocoa Vanilla website, and I'll include a link to that below for you. I chose the word summer from the cut file set, and I enlarged it so that it would span almost across the entire width of the layout. And as you can see, I cut it out of my white cardstock background, and now I'm going to mat it with that beautiful ombre patterned paper. So you also saw there that I added some machine stitching around the edge of my layout. When I use a white cardstock background, I nearly always like to give the layout some kind of border, or sometimes I'll add a strip of pattern paper to one of the edges. So I decided on this layout to add some machine stitching around the edge, and you'll be able to see this a little better in the close-ups at the end. It's very subtle, but I think it just adds a little bit of detail and some nice texture to the layout. So I decided to use that ombre pattern paper because I felt like it needed a solid colour behind the cut file, and I thought that any of the busier pattern papers might make it look a little difficult to read. Plus I know I want to add those large florals to the page, and I don't want the overall layout to become too busy. So now you can see that I'm just adding back in those bits to the middle of the letters. So I laid the cut file back over it so that I can get those little pieces positioned in the right spot. So I'm matting my photo with that lovely wood grain patterned paper from the collection. And the photo that I'm scrapbooking today is one of my youngest daughter Eleanor with my nephew Charlie, and it was taken last summer when they were enjoying an ice cream together, and these two are just so cute together. They're 8 months apart in age and they just love each other so much. They're such great friends, and I love capturing cute little photos like this of them together. So I did consider positioning my photo further over to the right, but when I looked at it I just felt like it needed to be centered on the page. I think because they're both pretty much looking straight at the camera and they're centered in the middle of the photo, that it just looks better with the photo centered above the title. And also that allows me to then tuck the two floral clusters in underneath each side of the photo, and I really love how that looks. So I added some strips of foam tape underneath the photo just to lift it up and give it some extra dimension. And so I'm going to stick my photo down now, even though I know I'll be tucking some things underneath the edges of the photo, like those florals. I don't want it moving around, and it's easy enough to lift up the edges of the layout to tuck things under later. So I just used my T-square ruler just to make sure that the photo was straight and centered on the page. And then I'm just tucking those florals back in under there. So this is pretty much going to form the basis for the design of this page. Because I've got a large title and those large floral clusters, it really only needs a few little embellishments here and there just to add some extra detail and interest. So I pulled out the die cuts from the collection, and I'm going to tuck that cloud die cut under the top right hand corner of the photo, and then I was just deciding on which little tab I wanted to add to the top corner of the layout, and I decided on that minty green one because I already had a lot of orange already on the page. So then I tucked in a few of those leaves into the floral clusters. And then I do pop that little die cut there underneath the title that says memories are made of this, and I was going to use this as part of my title, but I end up taking it off later and I put my journaling there instead. So I want to create 3 little embellishment clusters on the layout in order to create a visual triangle. So as you can see, I added some bits and pieces to the top right hand corner of the layout. Then I've added a couple of things to the bottom left hand corner of the photo. I've used one of the beautiful puffy stickers from the collection, and I've also popped one of those little wooden buttons there as well. And then I've created a third point of interest at the bottom of the page where I added that cute little banner and also another wooden button. So I also am just adding a couple of the little heart stickers to the page, and these just add some extra little details and interest to the layout. So now I'm happy with how this is looking, and I'm going to start sticking things down. I don't want things to move around too much because I'm happy with the placement of everything. So I'm just lifting up the edges of those floral clusters and just adding some liquid glue underneath to stick them down. Now I'm just snipping off that little bit that was hanging over the edge of the layout, and I really like how those floral clusters go right up to the edge of the layout like that. So if you're looking for a collection to document your summer photos, make sure you go and check out this one. It's called Endless Summer. I really like it because it's a little bit different to most other summer collections that have lots of bold colours. So I'll pop a link below so that you can go and check it out if you'd like to. So I'm just going to add a little bit of foam tape underneath the left hand side of that puffy sticker because it's going to overlap the edge of the photo, which also has foam tape underneath it, so that will help it to sit nice and flat. I've also added some foam tape underneath that banner sticker at the bottom of the page, and I really like the extra dimension that that adds. And once again, I'm just using my T-square ruler just to make sure that it's centered on the page. So now I'm going to add my journaling, and as I do most of the time, I've typed it up on my computer and printed it out, and then I cut it up into strips, and I'm going to stick those down using some narrow double-sided tape. And then that will pretty much wrap it up. I did decide to add some Heidi Swapp gold ink splatters and some enamel shapes to the layout after I stopped filming, and then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this process video. Thanks so much for joining me, and I also want to say hello to all my new subscribers. So I will see you in my next video. Thanks guys. Bye.